What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. I figure it'd be great just to take a couple moments to reflect on the coming administration of President Donald Trump, who was inaugurated today, and him coming into office and how I see that playing out. It's two things that I noticed about this administration. One, I don't think the cabinet and people like Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, I don't feel as though the cabinet, his first cabinet, I really thought was exceptional. I really thought he pulled a lot of great talent um, for business, whether you're talking Rex Tillerson, General Mattis. He just had a lot of General Flynn. I think he had a lot of loyalists there. A lot of people, obviously, things didn't work out. He had a lot of resignation within his administration. And that's obvious because I think he was such a maverick, in the true sense of the word, and things he was doing. I really don't have that many like qualms with his first administration. Actually, as a president, from a geopolitical point of view, as a president, things he could have done and he did. I thought he had a really good first term. He reminds me a lot of Clinton. I find that presidencies to be very much aligned. Um, it's just as far as that pragmatism. But the one thing about Donald Trump is I find him to be a relative dove. Remember, on his watch, it wasn't that many wars. And you know it wasn't that many wars because when Biden got back in and the boys got back in town, the bureaucratic administration got to run things and business as usual, we went crazy on the wars. Whether you're talking about Ukraine or just what happened with Syria or Israel, and you can say that America was a lot. You can say that America had a hand in Israel because what the reason why I would say America had a hand in what went on with Israel and the aggression that Israel showed in Gaza is because when Trump came into office, they stopped. So if America was able to end it, if the war stopped when America really put diplomatic pressure on it, that means that the war persisted during Biden administration because there was no diplomatic pressure. So that's why I say the bureaucracy really went war crazy and the Hawks got in for this reason or that reason. And so Trump is going to come in with, I think it's going to be a different style. People know what to expect now because they had an administration. And this administration is not too radical. It's very pragmatic. I think he's a very pragmatic guy. But one thing I do think, though, is he's going to have to deal a lot more with, I think he's an exceptional candidate, whereas I don't think he's a forerunner of a generation of candidates. I think there's going to be one Trump, which, it is what it is. He's not like a Jacksonian. Like, he's not going to, like General Andrew Jackson, President Jackson, where you have like 3 or 4 presidents that come after him. They're going to all be in his style. Or Reagan, like the Reagan tree, where you have this Reagan-esque presidential election and, that's going to lead into the VP. But I don't think he's going to create a error. He's going to be exceptional because he only got 4 years. And I don't see anybody else in the Republican Party like him. And his coalition is actually quite unique. It is actually quite unique. And I think he's going to balance that because I feel as though he did dog whistle with Make America Great Again. But he's not that type of candidate, really, if you think about it. And I think Barack Obama may have done this with the African American community, what Trump has done with the white community. He gave them a signal where he was more invested than he actually was. And I think the reason why I say that is because you have people like Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. These are the people that are really, I think, have their ear. So you got these nationalists, Christian nationalists, want to take America back in time in the same party or the same supporting group as Vivek Ramaswamy. These are people that believe in survival of the fittest, bringing the best talent. They're allegiance to America's future and what it can be. Where Trump has a whole nother demographic of people that are voting for him for what America represented to them in their youth and their childhood. This is like 1950 America, or what they perceived, what America represented in their parents' childhoods. Affordable houses, white picket fence, and core family. And I think some people really thought Trump represented that, even though he doesn't at all. But he feigns that through his rhetoric and his optimism. I believe he's a patriot. Of course, he should be a patriot. He's a billionaire. He's benefited from this system. Of course, he should be a supporter of the system. Benefit the system greatly. It's a system that worked for him. There's nothing wrong with that. So I do believe he has America's best interest. But I think when coming into this world, in what I call a Crypt 6 world, China, Russia, India, Iran, Pakistan, and Turkey, he's going to have a lot on his plate in this Asian century, dealing with these rising powers, managing. I don't want to say a crumbling Russia, but they got the screws to Russia right now, so he can't seem to take the screws off Russia. We're managing a relationship with China. We're partnering with them, but we're as Americans are partnering with China, but it also to a point where you want China to be a relative, a friendly force in this world. And I think that's a natural relationship. I constantly say that. I think America and China has a natural relationship, a natural alliance, because they complement each other so well in the things that they do. That's why I think they have that natural alliance. I think India is going to be the standout over the next 4 years. I think it's their time. I think they're starting to smell themselves, as we say. Like they're starting to feel themselves. They're starting to recognize, with technology, economic development, they're starting to find themselves, how their strengths, their weakness, what they can't get away with. I just read an article the other day about how they've been trying to, and I made a SWOT video on this. If you get a chance, check out the SWOT video. But in the video, I was talking about one of the things that India needs to do is establish a POX or a peace on South Asia. Basically, chill out with Pakistan, right? Now, you're going to have your geostrategy, of course, but it doesn't have to be so antagonistic relationship with Pakistan. Get some breathing room with those guys if you can. And because they are the big dog in South Asia. So I think that being the case, of course, India has a ways to go, but they're really a giant. They really are a giant, a world unto themselves. And they're exceptional in so many ways, on the upside and the downside, unfortunately. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Turkey, Erdogan, I just did a poll. The most Machiavellian leader right now is probably President Erdogan of Turkey. So they're benefiting, and this is another one of those complementary relationships. One of the great geostrategic moves, I think, is getting Turkey in NATO, securing their territorial integrity, and they're starting to wake up. They have some political leadership that's been in office for a while under Erdogan. He's a very long-serving leader, constantly still trying to serve, making sure. So his legacy, as he's getting up there in age, so ensuring his legacy and the path forward for the Turks, that's going to be very interesting, and the things they're going to do with Russia seemingly in peril. But Turkey has had a lot of victories, and a lot of those victories have been at the expense of countries like Russia and France. So Pakistan is a crazy house, and the reason why Pakistan is a crazy house is because it's a crazy house. It's built on just as much of what it isn't as much as what it is, right? And that is just this Islamic state of South Asia. But is it a core demography? To me, it's all South Asia, but it's a piece of a greater India that's separated along religious lines. And that is really some great territory, right? It's not the most Indian country, and it's not the most Islamic country. And because of that, it's constantly being divided, or it's constantly in peril, because there's going to be significant groups of non-South Asians in there, like the Pashtuns, and you have these other groups out there that has historic ties, cultural, like such as The Palakis constantly seeking their own independence as well. So Pakistan, I always say, is where Indo-European meets the Indo-Aryan. And I think there's a fundamental cultural shift there, just as much as a geographic shift as we start to deal with the subcontinent, the borders of the subcontinent. Um, Iran's a mess. I'm just gonna stop talking about Iran. Like it's such a tragic story that what can you say? It's completely helpless. It's like an oversized Cuba at this point, which is it pains me to say because I think it'd be a phenomenal country. It should be a phenomenal country, and it's nowhere near its potential of what it could and what it should be to make the world a better place. I think a progressive Iran would be one of the greatest forces in the world. And the fact that you have this place with so much history and so much tradition and so much um, cultural roots within the region and in the world, and they're silent because they're a pariah and they have a nonsensical, they have an unserious regime. The world, I think they miss out on that. Just like China has a way of, just like the West have a way of viewing the world and processing and thought that they promote and push out there, and China does the same thing. I think the world needs a Iranian point of view, how Iran sees the world. When you have these great old civilizations of continuity, especially Iran, which was multi-ethnic across various different groups that has, but still come together under this Persian umbrella for millennia. Like I just feel as though it's just unfortunate, the world is really missing out on the Iranian boys. But all those things and more are going to be some challenges managing that, and then as well as the domestic economy. So you got the domestic economy, him trying to keep his coalition of different groups that support him, and then you have this international arena where we're at an epoch and things are changing, and that Asian century is starting to unveil itself, and you have these countries now. It's about to be a new Europe. That's going to be another thing. You're going to have, historically, Western Europe has been the muscle of Europe. Whether that's France or Spain or Italy, and we're looking at the new Europe. The muscle is going to be Poland and Ukraine. So it's a change in a world in these countries such as Germany and Italy. Now they have some of the worst demographics in the world. Them along with South Korea, but they have some of the worst demographics in the world. They're demographically frail versions of what they used to be, right? And there's really no real room for it. You're saying, okay, where is this going to be this growth? But now they're dealing with their own issues as far as migration, and then obviously, the more migration you have, it's going to be directly correlated to your far right groups, right? The more things change, the more people want them to stay the same. So Trump is definitely going to have his plate full with a lot of things, but I really like his style. He's very energetic. He's very committed. He's a guy that is very industrious. He takes to the work like a duck to water. He's not trying to catch a tan. And for me, that's great and I also think he has a lot of geopolitical, I don't want to say unique, but pragmatic geopolitical ambitions that I think create conversations that should be had. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think this Trump administration might bring. Please comment below. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bad to up.